Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This meeting of online presenters has now begun. Guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 speeches from either the traditional or pathways programs. Or you must have substantial, relevant presentation experience that you demonstrate during 3 to 5 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to board approval. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role if you have one. Right-click and select Rename to do so. We have members and often guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, other professional organizations, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording this meeting. Your video audio contribution may be used for our club marketing purposes. Please mute your microphone when you are not speaking. And the theme of today evening is, you guessed it, Return of Hat Day. Please welcome our president, Mr. Nick Lahani, DTM.
Thank you very much, Andre. Welcome, fellow guests, welcome, fellow members, and welcome to online presenters. I'd like to say a couple of things first. First of all, great theme. I love putting on hats. Excellent. The next thing is we're looking for volunteers for the VTM Con. Now, Surya is the liaison for online presenters to that conference, which is going to be on June 26th and 27th. And she's looking for volunteers to do various number of things. So please message her privately and just say, hey, what's going on? Also, Jeanette is going to lead our 30-minute breakout session on that particular conference, where online presenters can put on anything that we want to. And she's looking for people to help with ideas and actually put on the show. So please contact those 2 people and just learn, grow, and network. Now, today's meeting, I'm so happy to actually announce that our Toastmaster of the day is the one, the only, the one with the hat. Well, actually, it's more than one with the hat. Please welcome the ever indefatigable Mr. Jim Barber, DTM.
Oh, such big words for so early in the morning. Wow. Good evening or morning or whatever. Good tomorrow, everybody. This is the April something or other, 19th possibly for you, or the 20th meeting of Online Presenters Toastmasters. And we are going to have a fabulous meeting this evening or morning. This is Return of Hat Day because we have had Hat Day before, so it's got to be Return of Hat Day. And the reason that I like Hat Day, other than the fact that it's just kind of fun to see everybody dressed up. Ooh, Andre, I like that. To see everybody dressed up in their different hats, their different things, is this is a very diverse club. We come from a variety of nations. We come from a variety of climates. We come from a variety of backgrounds. We come from a variety of ages and everything. But one thing that we all have in common, at least most of us, is we have heads. And most people who have heads find something at one point or another to put on their heads. And that was the inspiration behind Hat Day. And that's why we are celebrating Return of Hat Day. And next time I'm Toastmaster, we'll probably have Hat Day again. We'll have Hat Day version 3 or whatever. However, I am only doing part of this evening, and basically I've done what I was going to do. I've got other people that are fulfilling far more important roles this evening, and I would like to hear from them. I have listed here as the timer, Sarah. Is that true? Sarah, are you here? I'm not. There you are. Oh, I love your hat. That is great. Would you please tell everybody what you'll be doing as timer?
Thank you, Jim. Everybody, I'll be keeping track of time throughout the meeting. And then for speeches and table topics, I will also be keeping track of that time. For speeches, it'll be 5 to 7 minutes. You will see a green when it comes to 5. You see a yellow at 6 and a red at 7. For table topics, you will see a green at 1, yellow at 1.5, and red at 2. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sarah. All right. I have as our Wizard of Oz this evening, Emily Thompson. And I saw Emily a few moments ago, but I've lost her on my Brady Bunch layout here. Emily, are you still here?
Yes.
There you are. Okay. Hi. Oh, I like that hat too. Would you please tell us what you're going to be doing as the Wizard of Oz tonight?
I'm not sure, but I'm a counter, and I'm checking how many times that we say and other filler words when perhaps a stately pause would be better. Additionally, I'm looking for Xeroxes, which is repeated, saying things over and over again while waiting to remember what the word is you're trying to recall. Back to you, Jim.
Nicely done. Thank you, Emily. Our grammarian this evening is Laura. I believe I saw Laura earlier. There she is. Okay. Oh, another good hat. Wow, I like this. This is fun. Laura, what will you be doing this evening?
Yes, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, as grammarian, I will be listening to the use of the English language, listening for the good, the bad, and the beautiful, and I'll give my report when called upon towards the end of the meeting. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Laura. Let's see, our watcher this evening is none other than David F. Carr. David, what will you be doing this evening?
Mr. Toastmaster. Yeah, so folks, I do have to tell you that when Jim Barber is not the Toastmaster, he is often the watcher. And he usually says something about the stalkery habits of the watcher. So I have license to peer, to squint, possibly even to ogle you, and to observe how you present yourself visually, particularly how the speakers use all the visual elements, including their bodies, what little bit of body that you can fit into this frame, and other visual special effects that they may dazzle us with. I will give a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. Our chat monitor this evening is Jeanette, and I've lost track of you. I saw you before. Jeanette.
Yes, thank you, Mr.
There you are. What will you be doing this evening?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My role tonight as the chat monitor, it's to monitor the chat and check to see all the expressions and all the feedback the members will be giving on the chat. And at the end, I will give my report. So back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Jeanette. Before I proceed any further, I should do this officially through the back room and so on like that, but I'm just going to cut to the chase. Talking to whoever is running the show, our Pamela will need to screen share. Could you please, whoever's doing that, Krishn? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Finally, our vote counter this evening was listed as Donna Knight, but I believe I received a note that we're going to be doing vote counting by polling instead. Is that true? We are. So we don't really need a vote counter. Is that correct?
Correct.
Such a deal. In that case, our vote counter was going to be Donna Knight. Thank you very much, Donna. Would you like to tell us what you were going to do?
Well, I'll tell you what I was going to say. I was going to say, in my heart, each count will go. Check my name, send it privately soon. I'll count them all, then reveal them to you. Your choice will be made according to the rules.
Nicely done. Thank you, Donna. You would have done a great job. I appreciate that. All right, I think we've covered everybody. Let's get started with what we really are here to do tonight, which is to listen to and evaluate our incredible speakers. Despite, well, I shouldn't say that. One of the real strengths of Toastmasters is learning how to deal with the unexpected, how to change very quickly and keep things on course. Consequently, I want to express my great appreciation to our first speaker, Pamela Benjamin, who was not slated to be a speaker tonight, but she's going to do it anyway. I appreciate that. So I know that the title of her speech is Surprises. I don't have anything else to say in terms of her introduction, except that on a personal note, I have the greatest respect for her, and I'm confident that it's going to be an incredible presentation. So with surprises, please take it away, Pamela Benjamin.
Thank you. Good evening, OP, friends and guests. I'm going to talk to you about surprises. See, I'm a planner. I really like to think about the things that are coming down the road. I started planning for a triathlon almost 4 years ago, and I've worked on endurance with biking, swimming, and running for all these different events. But ladies and gentlemen, when it finally came to race day, when it finally happened after 2 deferments because of COVID, there were some surprises. Yes, there were some surprises. And I'd like to tell you some of the surprises along my journey on that epic day, April 11th, 2021, a day that burned in my mind for over 2 years as the date kept getting moved out 6 months, then 6 months, and then 6 months. My surprises. First off, I am from Chicago. If you're from Chicago, there is no salt water anywhere near you. You swim in the Great Lakes. Now, they're not the best with the EPA and etc., but they're pretty good. See, ladies and gentlemen, I really never was an open water swimmer. I was a pool swimmer. So when I signed up to do the Galveston half Ironman, I knew I'd be swimming in the bay that connects to the Gulf of Mexico. And the Gulf of Mexico has a lot of animals and fish that they don't have in the Great Lakes. So what do you think was at the top of my mind the last 2 years? Yes, I was preparing for what I would do when I came across this creature. And my strategy was not to be the front or the back of the pack, to stay right in the middle, because it would take a while to get to me if I was in the middle of the pack. As I was driving down, I thought to myself, I'll listen to a podcast on triathlon, specifically the Ironman Texas that's about to happen. I learned all these specific nuances of the race. But one thing the broadcaster spoke about that I had never thought about was that we would be jumping off of piers. Piers. They don't have those in Chicago. And they do, nobody jumps off of them. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when I got to Galveston, this is what the pier looked like. So for 3 days, I was looking at the pier, wondering how in the world I was going to jump off of the pier. And suddenly, that shark was the least of my concern. Yes. So for 3 days, I stopped worrying about the shark and I worried about the pier, because the Ironman said that if you jump off that 10-foot pier, your goggles kind of get messed up and they go flying off your head. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what the pier looked like. It was about a 3-foot drop. My goggles didn't come off. No, they didn't come off. They stayed on. I tied them super duper tight. I thought my eyes were going to bug out, but they stayed on. And I didn't meet one shark the whole time. But I did make a friend. Yes, I met a kind stranger. You might say, swimming out there, you met a friend? I met a friend. But let me first explain the background of where my friend and I were. You see, this is the swimming course. You see this little green spot right there? That's where we jump off. That's the little 2 to 3 foot little drop into the bay, golfish kind of area. And then you swim down, and then you turn, and then you swim up, which is okay. I have no problem with that. But what I learned is that you're swimming into the waves. You're swimming into all of that motion coming at you. So let me tell you, I was flying going down, but I was really chugging hard going up. And halfway between that line going up, I made a friend. You see, I didn't have a hard time swimming because I've been swimming a long time, but it was hard to get hard. Swimming against the current, stroke after stroke after stroke after stroke, you feel like you're going nowhere. But you know what I did? I went up to one of these little guys in the canoe. Can you see the little guy in the canoe? There was a lot of these guys floating around the canoe. And I went up to him and I said, can I just put my hand on the canoe for just 1 minute? 1 minute, I just need to get my breath. And he said, ma'am, what's your name? I thought that was a very strange question. Why would he want to know my name? But I guess if I need a breath, I said, my name's Pamela. Pamela, I just want you to know you're doing great. Really? I'm hanging on the end of your canoe. He goes, Pamela, my name's Brian, and I think you're doing great. I thought that was a very strange conversation in the middle of the water at 7:30 in the morning, but I made a friend. You make friends in unusual places. Yes, Brian became my friend. He said a very kind word to me and really gave me hope, because it really seemed like it wasn't really so great at that moment. It seemed like, well, it just wasn't that great. But I kept going. I kept going to the next buoy, this big, huge buoy that floats around out there. And I put my hand on it for a moment, and somebody else was flashing and splashing and splashing. And I kept my composure. I was calm. I just was calm. After Brian told me that I could do it, it just didn't seem that big a deal. So I was calm. And I told the guy who was struggling over there, I said, you can do it too. And pretty soon I was out of that current. I turned and then I was up the water. Now, let me tell you, when you're doing an Ironman, they tell you to drink a lot of salt water. That's right. Salt water, a lot of salt all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, I got a dose of salt water in that salted water, something I never would have gotten in Lake Michigan. The next thing I learned was wind. See, usually when it's windy where I come from, the trees look like they're windy. See, one tree looks windy and one tree doesn't look windy. See, so as I'm going down my 56 mile down the island, I'm just trucking along. I am just flying like unbelievable amount of speed. And I thought to myself, I am doing incredible. Well, when I turned around, it wasn't quite that way. But here I want to play this for you from Can you hear it?
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was my experience. The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. My Ironman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pamela. Thank you. Wow. All right. Our second speaker this evening is Krishn Ramchurn. Most of you know Krishn, but for anybody that might not know who he is, there are basically two people here that are really, well, it's not true. Three people here that are making this club go. One is our beloved president, Nick Lacani, who you heard from earlier. The second one is David Carr, who is everything technology, everything web counter, web mastering. And the third one is our VPE, Krishn Ramchurn. He is not only our VPE, he is not only speaking this evening, but he's all doing this in about, I think it's 3 o'clock in the morning where you are, something like that. Oh my gosh. Okay. So anyway, here's the miracle man. Please help me welcome our speaker number 2, speaking on what we can do. Please help me welcome Krishn Ramchurn.
Mr. Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Martin Luther King Jr. Those are his words. What are you doing for others? That's the most pertinent question we should be able to ask ourselves. Now, here's some fun news. We are, all of us here who are members of this proud club, we are Toastmasters. But hold on, we're not only Toastmasters, we are advanced Toastmasters. So my question to you is, are you wondering what to do as a member of this club? You're advanced, you've done it all. You're now at online presenters. What do I do? Or maybe another question is, where do I go from here? How do I improve as a Toastmaster at online presenters? And even further, what can I do? What can I do to keep on improving on my speeches? What can I do to improve as a leader? What can I do to improve as a human being? Now, I remember I had all of those questions when I joined Online Presenters in 2017. Yes, it sounds so far back, 2017. But it doesn't come across as such a long time for me, because since I've joined this club, I've moved from being a scared little member, looking at awesome speakers like Jim Barber, Graham Cairns, Lois Margoling. The list is endless. Scared, why? Because I just left my little pond of comfort and jumped into the ocean of online presenters where the level is so high. And it's kept improving over the years. And I found out I had the following challenge. Challenge number 1. I was like this little boat floating with no direction on the water. It was not the water, it was the open ocean. Now think about it, a little paper boat, no direction, no support, with sharks running and swimming around. What do? Well, guess what? I moved from being so stressed under the sunlight of online presenters to having a big smile because I started to do one thing. I started to volunteer. Yes, volunteer for roles. Now, you are wondering, does this make sense? This guy, he's the current VP Education, he's talking about volunteering. Well, guess what? Volunteering is where everything starts in Toastmasters. Do you know that Toastmasters is the best kept secret in the world? Why do you think so? Because we are provided with an environment to grow not only as speakers, but where leaders are made, the tagline, yes, as leaders as well. And you do all that by simply volunteering. And how can we volunteer? Well, we start with one step at a time, baby steps. We're not babies, we're adults, but one step at a time. If you're a new member, take on any role that you want to take up, one step at a time. But hey, you want to push your boundaries over your first year, forget the first year as a member. Over your first month as a member, take on the role of Toastmaster. Yes, Toastmaster. We are looking for Toastmasters, not only for the month of May and June. Yes, I'm doing a sales pitch here. We're also looking for Toastmasters at any single event. Watch out how Toastmaster Jim Barber with his hat handles the show, because he's going to put on a show. But here's the thing. Why do we do all that? Well, when we ask ourselves, we simply want to be leaders, right? Because what's happening right now, when you take on the role of Toastmaster, you become so comfortable at speaking in front of a wide audience that you can speak in front of anyone, because now the world has become online in terms of communication. But again, in terms of volunteering, why should I volunteer? Well, in the famous words of Winston Churchill, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. And that is the next step that we need to take. We should take. It should be into our promise at Online Presenters. When you join the club, be a club officer. And guess what? It's happening. We are welcoming new club officers on board, because when you become a club officer, you not only build skills to run effective, high-performing meetings, you also get to be, you get to build up your leadership skills, manage, motivate, mentor your fellow club members, your fellow club officers. You get to be mentored as well. But hey, you get to do your own projects from the time from the time of inception. You think about it and you do it, because why? It's trial and error. Yes, it's a weird combination of words. We learn by doing, we learn by mistakes, we learn by failings, but at the end, the failures becomes our wins. But why should we volunteer? Well, you get to work with people who are looking in the same direction. And for me, that has been my highlight at Online Presenters. I realized after this Sunday, where we had our last board meeting, that I'm going to miss this team. I remember when I first joined the meeting and my president was telling me, Krishn, what is your vision? What do you want to do? I was, no idea. Over time, with his mentoring, with his guidance, with a lot of brushing on the head, that's why I'm wearing a beanie cap, I've come not only to be comfortable and performant in my role, but I've come to enjoy this group of people, because I'm no longer this person. I've evolved because I have volunteered. So my question to you and my plea to you is, take on a volunteer role, because we are looking up for club officers right now. The doors are open. It's your choice. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Krishn. Appreciate that. Great message that we all needed to hear. I want to follow up on that. This isn't on the schedule, but I want to follow up on that very briefly. Occasionally, I hear from people that say that, oh, no, I couldn't be Toastmaster, or I couldn't be general evaluator, I couldn't evaluate somebody or something like that. I'm not ready. I'm not good enough yet, or whatever. No, if anything, my experience as Toastmasters tonight is indicating we're not asking for perfection. I'm definitely not doing it perfectly, but we ask you to simply try your best. So don't wait until you are ready. Go ahead and do it. Do your best, and you will be surprised at what you're going to be able to accomplish. Just my little input. Now, our third speaker this evening is someone that we don't have to ask, please volunteer, please step up to the plate, because she consistently does that. One of our relatively newer members to Online Presenters, but in terms of experience, definitely an experienced presenter, is our third speaker, Roxanne Hosein. And she is speaking tonight, oh, I love this title, From Tahiti to My Table. From Tahiti to My Table, please help me welcome Roxanne Hosein. Roxanne.
Fellow Toastmasters, and guests. Being that we have such a diverse geography in this club, I am expecting to see quite a few hands, including yours, Donna. So, show of hands if you know what this is. All right, I see Donna, I see Graham, Chris, Gould, Andre. All right, show of hands if you've had it. Have you had it? Now I know Donna has had it. Yes, Donna. Is Donna the only hand? For those of you who don't know what it is, that is breadfruit. And of all the fruits in the world, not only is it one of the most prolific, with hundreds of known varieties grown in 90 countries worldwide, it also has one of the most dramatic tales associated with it. Breadfruit originated in the Indo-Malay region, and it spread throughout the Pacific by voyaging islanders. When the Europeans discovered it in the late 1500s, they were both amazed and delighted by it. Who had ever seen such a thing? A starchy fruit that when you roast it in a fire, had both the aroma and texture of freshly baked bread. In Jamaica, breadfruit is comfort food, and adding it to any breakfast table turns it into a feast. A Jamaican would never serve a Christmas morning breakfast without it. The story of how breadfruit made its way from Tahiti to the Caribbean is the thing of which movies are made. No, literally, they made a movie. It was by providence, with assistance, that the breadfruit came to Jamaica. Although breadfruit did not arrive on the island until 1793, the story actually begins 22 years earlier. Captain Cook had sailed to Tahiti on the HMS Endeavour, accompanied by Sir Joseph Banks. Seeing the breadfruit as a cheap way to feed the enslaved people in the Caribbean, Sir Joseph Banks proposed to King George III that he commission a special expedition to transport the breadfruit plants from Tahiti to the Caribbean. And thus the stage was set for one of the most notorious mutinies in history, the Mutiny on the Bounty. By now, you've guessed that it was Lieutenant William Bligh who was commissioned to captain the Bounty to transport the trees. On the journey to take the trees to the Caribbean, First Mate Fletcher Christian led a mutiny against Captain William Bligh and set him, along with 18 of his loyalists, adrift on the ocean, leaving him for dead. But why? What was the motivation for this? The way Hollywood tells it, it's because Captain Bligh was a tyrant, which he was. But is that enough? Or that the mutineers just wanted to stay in Tahiti, which ultimately they did, and their descendants still live in that region today. Still, is that enough? What act could Captain Bligh have committed that is so egregious that it would bring Fletcher Christian to hold a bayonet to his head and force him off the boat? The documented truth is this. Supplies were scarce and the ship was overcrowded. And Captain Bligh wanted to use the last of the men's drinking water to water the breadfruit saplings. That's right. He valued the life of fruit trees over the lives of men. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. The mutineers tossed hundreds of breadfruit plants overboard. Not that it mattered, because they took the bounty back to Tahiti and ultimately burnt it. The movies tell of the courage and the sailing skills of the men who were left for dead, and the courtroom drama of Captain Bligh's trial for the loss of the bounty and the men for the mutiny. But what you don't see in the movies is that 2 years later, Captain Bligh returned to Tahiti to complete his mission. This time, he went with 2 ships, the HMS Providence and the HMS Assistance. So you see, as I said earlier, it was by Providence with assistance that the breadfruit was successfully introduced to the Caribbean, first to St. Vincent and then to Jamaica. You may have thought that I meant the providence of God and the assistance of man. I guess you can take it both ways. Nonetheless, the mission was regarded as a failure. You see, the enslaved people were unfamiliar with it and refused to eat it. Instead, they fed it to the pigs. It was not until decades, almost a century later, that it became the staple that it is today. Now, let's take it to the table. Breadfruit is roasted before it is eaten. In some islands, it's actually boiled in coconut milk. This is traditionally done over an open wood fire. In Jamaica, every household had one of these coal stoves for 3 things: sweet potato pudding, soups, and roast breadfruit. The process cooking time is 1 hour to 2 hours, depending on the size of the breadfruit. The one you see here will take about 1 hour. The charred skin is removed once the fruit cools completely, and the breadfruit becomes infused with the smoky flavor of the char. It is cut into wedges and enjoyed hot with salt and butter, or thinly sliced and fried. If you poll Jamaicans on how they prefer their breadfruit, roasted or fried, you'll probably get about a 50-50 split. For me, I prefer mine fried. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Roxanne. I not only learned a lot, I am all of a sudden, I'm very hungry, but oh well, I can wait on that. Thank you though, that was great. Madam Timer Sarah, how did our speakers do this evening, time-wise?
1 speaker qualified.
Well, that's gonna make voting very easy. Which speaker?
Roxanne.
Roxanne is the only one that qualified? Such a deal. Normally,
I
we
don't know.
would vote at this time by sending our votes to the vote counter, even though it doesn't, there's not a whole lot of point to it. However, we're going to take the absurdity just a step further, and we're going to vote for Roxanne at the end of the meeting by a polling capability. So remember, keep this in your mind. Those of you that have short-term memory problems, keep in mind who you want to vote for when we get to the end of the meeting so that you can vote for Roxanne. All right.
Mr. Toastmaster,
Yes.
I just want to ask, does everybody see me? I don't know, can everybody see me? No?
Yes.
Yes, I was certainly seeing you.
Okay, I think Pamela couldn't see me. Yes.
That's
okay.
possible. When you screen share, that can happen sometimes. Yep. Okay. But most definitely we can see you. Love your hat. All right.
Mr. Jim Barber.
Yes, sir.
Perhaps we can vote for all 3 speakers at the end of the show. Is that okay?
It suits me. You're the president.
Thank
And
you.
as long as you don't water any grapefruit or breadfruit or something like that, you're going to be president. So, okay, an executive decision has been made. All 3 speakers are qualified for voting, but don't do it now. Wait until the end of the meeting. Okay. All right. For now, we're going to move to our second portion of the meeting, which is going to be handled by the one, the only, if there were more than one of her, it would be too many, Elaine Nieberding. And so Elaine, as our table topics tonight, master tonight, would you take it away, please? Thank you.
Indeed, I will. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and replay viewers, of course. We only have 10 minutes for table topics. So I'm going to change the rules, and when I call on you, you have max of 1.5 minutes to respond. timer, that might make it crazy for you, but do the best you can. Anyway, first question goes to Lou Brown. Lou Brown, hats off to you is an expression of admiration. Tell us who you would think is worthy of taking your hat off to and why.
Madam Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters and guests, no, I'm not a coal miner. This is a very unique hat that I use to read and went with the lights off. It's a great book reader. Just to let you know, in case you're curious. Anyway, hats off to, oh, goodness. This is actually tough to say in the spot. I'm going to say hats off to Simon Sinek. He is somebody that I have read some of his books and followed him online for actually just a little over a year now. And his material is just so refreshing and amazing. It's all about personal development, self-improvement, concepts to just help us all live healthier, more satisfying, enjoyable lives. And quite frankly, anyone in that space I find to be amazing because of a lot of the thoughts and the concepts and things that they think about and share that have helped them. And maybe a little bit of, say, common sense in some ways with, I'm trying to find Sarah, with many folks, but some of them are also kind of like aha moments or otherwise things that we might not otherwise think of whenever we read some of their material. And there's so many people in that field that I'm sure all of you probably know. With Toastmasters, a lot of us are also into that personal development space and self-improvement. I know there are a lot of folks who do the coaching and health and well-being coaching in various professions like that. But Simon Sinek is somebody that I really would take my hat off to. I think he's an amazing individual and has a great story to share. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you so much, Lou. Did you ever answer, what's your why? Many of us know Simon Sinek. Angela Heath, this question is for you. You're wearing a hat of smarty pants, so I think you'll be able to handle this one. A new rule has been handed down. For the rest of your days, you must wear hats of a single color. Tell us, how do you approach this new rule?
Madam Table Topics Master, the new rule, I object. Why must I only wear hats with one color? It makes no sense. It's against some amendment rights, I'm sure. I should be able to wear any color hat that I choose. In fact, instead of wearing one color hat, I am going to start a society where we all wear a different color hat every day. How many of you are with me? Hands up, hands up, hands up. If you want to wear a different color hat every day, let me know. We will have our first meeting shortly after this one. Because after all, there's nothing that we do on earth where we only use one color. It's un-American, it's uncivil, and it's just unnecessary. So I will be starting this organization called the Multi-Hat Color Club. And there are several people here who will be joining me. And we are going to find the most ridiculously colored hats to wear every day, starting tomorrow. Back to you, Ms. Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much. You talked me into it. I will join. The next question is for Jim Gould. Jim Gould, you and your bride are having a second wedding. Instead of a playful water taxi wedding, which I know really happened, you are having a formal affair. Tell us what hats you and Chris will be wearing at this event.
Wow, Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, distinguished Toastmasters guests, I would absolutely be wearing a top hat and tails, and my wife would be wearing the most gorgeous headdress that you can ever imagine, with sparkly things that would just glisten in the moonlight, that would be happening in Mackinac Island at the Grand Hotel. And we would be drawn in this horse-drawn carriage up to this beautiful, it's just an amazing place in Michigan. And that's where the wedding would be. And we would have the most wonderful, amazing party. And you're all invited. Madam Table Topics Master.
Excellent. I am so thrilled that you invited me. I'm ready to go. I just hope all the COVID restrictions get blown out of the water so we can attend. The next question goes to Donna Knight. Donna Knight, if you were given $1 million and charged to be a benefactor to give away hats, what would you do?
Oh, thank you so much that I have been given this $1 million. Hats off. I know the ladies like to wear their hats off to say they're over 50. I know that there are so many different reasons to wear hats, and the pirates, I know you're out there waiting to get it, but please allow me to have a hats off days to all the children in the hospital so that we can make another day other than just Red Nose Day. Can you imagine? It will serve more than one purpose. We're going to be benefiting the children, and it will be during the summer, so you will have a reason to be out there, especially if you go to the ballpark, to be walking around. You'll be out there with some shade on your head. You can write, you can have anything inspirational written on it. Remember, I am paying for it. So you're going to give a word not only for the kids, but to somebody you're passing off. So when you do hats off, or Mr. Poirier usually just tip his hat, somebody is going to be inspired by what they see. You will benefit and others will. There might be some amount of money left. So guess what? Let's give some to the kids. So while they're in the hospital, and they're going to be fun and as wacky as they want. So when my friend has her very colorful days, we're going to spend some of that money on the kids so that they can enjoy their day and be lifted as they go through their challenge. Madam, I'm hoping that nothing is left. And in fact, I'm hoping that some of us right here might donate a little bit more. Topics Master, your turn.
Excellent. Everything we can do to encourage that spirit of generosity, that's what we want to do. I'd like to call on the last person for the last table topics. I'm calling on guest Hector. Guest Hector. Share a memory about a family member's distinctive headwear. Share a memory about a family member's distinctive headwear. Hector.
Thank you very much, Madam Table Topics Master. The one that comes to my mind is my beloved wife. See, she is a dancer. She made a living as a dancer. She studied ballet on the university, but one of the actual most beloved dance and passionate dance that I love to witness when she dances is flamenco. This traditional Spanish dance, because not all Spanish dance is flamenco, but it is a specific region of Spain that has this wonderful dance. And they have this beautiful hat that they wear to the side, black with a rose on the side. And I just love when she wears it and dances with it. It just brings me back to what we say in Mexico, the motherland, because we were conquered by Spain many years, 300 years under Spanish rule in Mexico. And the love of the Spanish dance is one of the things that were left behind. And every time that I listen to the music, I can only picture in my mind my wife dancing with that hat and throwing it to the public, where of course I jump over everyone and I grab it. Thank you very much.
What a wonderful response from each of our respondents. I'll turn this back over now to the Toastmaster of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Elaine was our topics master this evening on approximately 20 minutes notice. That's incredible that she could come up with great topics like that on such short notice. Our general evaluator this evening also had about 20 minutes notice to prepare her thing. So I'm going to just turn it over to her right now. Would you please help me welcome Elizan Warren, our general evaluator.
Hello, everyone. Hats off day. What an amazing opportunity for us to show off all of our hats. I want to say another hat off to our table topics master, our table hat master, I should say, who ran an excellent meeting. I would like to call to our stage at this time, our counter.
Perhaps we have the evaluators first.
Oh, sorry, I do apologize. Want to call, I kind of misplaced the agenda. So I'm going to call the general evaluator who evaluated Pamela, and I should have the rest of it by the time she's finished.
Well, please welcome Rick
Derling was our, there you go. Rick, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for that introduction. Pamela, I want to start off by saying I really enjoyed your speech. You definitely accomplished your goals in this speech by inciting people to feel the excitement and enjoyment that you got in participating in Ironman. You accomplished that through a number of things that I want to compliment you on. You have a very good use of your voice. During that speech, you did have a clear, very well understood words that you selected all the way across the board, but you also used vocal variety, changes in tone, pitch, some pauses that really brought the story to life. That's the kind of thing I always look for in a very good speech, and you definitely did that. For instance, during the speech, while you were in the water swimming, you were describing being out of breath. And the way your voice was carrying, actually, I was feeling a little bit out of breath myself. So you accomplished your goals in that space, very definitely. You had a lot of good gestures, and I enjoyed seeing them, and they were exciting, but I couldn't fully see them, and we'll talk about that in a moment. You also had a number of very good things in and around eye contact, but that's the other thing that I want to talk about briefly as well. I want to compliment you, and I am going to compliment you on the use of slides. So often I see people use slides that they're supporting the slides. That's not the case with what you did. You actually did a great job, simple slides that absolutely supported the story you were sharing. So well done on the slides. And I understand you were fairly quick in putting this together potentially. That makes it even a better thing to consider. Now here's a couple of things that I'll offer up as things to consider. Your eye contact at right at the beginning was definitely square at the camera. And I don't know why, but eventually you were looking off to one side. Don't know the reason, but I'll offer a suggestion. You can use it or not. Put something near your camera. Today I have a little koala bear. I'm talking to the koala bear. It's right next to the camera lens, and it really helps me focus. It allows me to stay focused on that camera all the time. This is how I do my eye contact, and it's served me well. Something for you to consider. I also always recommend standing when you do a speech. It does add to the speech. I know we're in a virtual world, and we're used to seeing people from the head, from the shoulders up. But by standing, you'll find that you actually have more confidence once you get used to it, and you actually add more excitement to the speech. So give some consideration to giving this kind of a speech standing. One more thing that I want to call out, because I just think it's important, and I did it at the beginning of this, it's that easy to do, You started one of your sentences with, I would like to share something. Well, I am going to share it. I'm going to tell you is a much stronger way to do that. So just some food for thought in that area. Altogether, I enjoyed your speech. I'm looking forward to future ones, a couple of things to play around with. And thank you very much for your effort to me this evening. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Rich Darling. I am going to call in the next general evaluator, who is Marianne Grady. Marianne Grady is going to be evaluating Krishn.
Hi, everybody, and good evening, Krishn. Your project tonight was from the Presentation Mastery Level 3, using presentation software. Your goal was to deliver a speech using presentation software, including the creation of slides and incorporating the technology into a speech. Well done. You did just that. First, you selected a topic that lent itself perfectly to using your slides. And it was also a win because it was about how Toastmasters helped you, and you used that as a springboard to encourage us to answer the question, what can we do? We can volunteer, we could take roles, and get comfortable as a speaker and leader as you have. Your slides were videos too, and they were quite impressive, all supporting the words you were saying, but without any text, which is really a wonderful way to keep your audience focused on what you're saying instead of trying to read the slides. You asked me to watch for smooth transitions. All transitions fluidly went from one to the other. Your speech was comfortable and relaxed. Your style is really personable. It feels like you're talking to a group of friends. One of the ways you engaged us as an audience was that you forced us to think how we would respond, and this got us interested in any advice you were going to be offering to us. And you also used gestures that were congruent with your words. One opportunity I see for improvement was that some of the videos looped for a little too long. In my opinion, they shouldn't go for more than 3 times. And another opportunity would be to look directly into the camera to create stronger connection with your audience. If you don't have your entire speech memorized, remember to just focus on a couple of your key points so that when you're going to drive them home, that you're looking right at the audience. The Winston Churchill quote was inspirational, and I love that Lost Guy video that you showed early on and again at the end to tie things together. Congratulations on meeting your objectives, and we can't hear your next one. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Marianne. We're going to ask for the final evaluator, Graham Cran, who will be evaluating Roxanne Hosein. Graham?
Thank you, Elizan, ladies and gentlemen, particularly, of course, Roxanne. I have to say, I am disappointed in Roxanne's speech because this is the first of 2 in the evaluate and feedback, which means I'm supposed to give her things for her to improve with her second version of this speech. And that's going to be really, really difficult because this was an exemplary example of how to tell a story. I love the use of imagery. I love the story of the breadfruit and of the story of the bounty. As an online presenter, and that's what this club is about, learning online presentation skills. I love the fact that when Roxanne asked us for a response, she then told the audience what that response was. Because if we're watching just her in Speaker View, for example, we don't know what the responses have been from other members of the audience. So it's good to tell us that. Well done. Some of the gestures I thought in this presentation today were superb. The aroma, I could smell the breadfruit when she was describing the aroma with those gestures. And by providence and with assistance, a gesture she used a couple of times, really well done. The bayonet to the head, I thought, was another one of those gestures that really worked well. This was a great example of the research and present speech. Obviously, there had been a lot of background knowledge, which Roxanne has about the breadfruit, but she obviously also did the research. And I would like to commend to all of our members an observation of how that was done. I knew that this was going to be about the breadfruit from the introduction to her speech. And even though that introduction wasn't read out, we all had a chance to read it on the agenda. And I would commend Roxanne for this and suggest that we all try to adopt writing an introduction that lets the audience know what it is that we are going to hear so that we are already prepped to receive the knowledge. Now, because this is the first of 2 speeches and it's supposed to be improved, I'm going to come up with some suggestions. One of those is, Roxanne is always so upbeat. I love her enthusiasm. But this speech actually did lead itself to some disappointment, perhaps even to some sadness at times. And if Roxanne had to put a little more of that into her voice, and I would encourage you, Roxanne, to go back and watch the video and you'll see the points that I'm talking about, that would have just chef's kiss, which it wasn't quite. And the use of slides and the video, which were effective, could have been just a little less clunky, but again, a bit more practice next time you deliver this and it will be seamless. As president of the Storytelling Club, Witty Storytellers Online, I would like your permission, if I may, Roxanne, to use this speech as the core of a workshop that I would like to give on how to present an excellent story. This speech wasn't perfect, but by crikey, it came close. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Graham. Now I'm going to call on the timer to give us the report for the evaluators, as well as the table topics.
All evaluators qualified. And I believe that all table topics qualified. They had a 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then if you give them an extra 5 seconds, everybody would qualify except Donna Knight, who came 1 minute 37. So I guess it's up to the.
Let's say everybody qualifies.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Hats off to everybody.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. We're going to invite you all to now vote for your speaker, your evaluator, and your table topics speaker. While we're voting, we're going to ask for the R counter to bring her report. The R counter is Miss Emily Thompson.
Okay. It's hard to, I've got the voting right here in the middle. Okay, I'm going to move it to the side. My R counter report is that people did magnificently. This is a wonderful club. We did not have very many filler words. We did not have very many Xeroxes. I mentioned to people in private chat if they did have Oz or false starts or Xeroxes. So ends my report. Thank you for letting me give my report, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Emily. We're going to have our grammarian next, and she's going to give us a report on the grammar for tonight's meeting. Lorraine Leander.
Yeah, it's Laura.
Laura, sorry.
Madam General Evaluator. I'm happy to give the report. I heard a lot of vivid language, which was beautiful, infused with a smoky flavor, roasted on a fire, fresh of the smell of freshly baked bread, and then the double meanings of providence and assistance. I loved the quotations from Churchill that we heard, as well as the announcer, the thrill of victory, agony of defeat. It was wonderful. And all of the synonyms like exemplary, superb, chef's kiss, and lyrical notes like un-American, uncivil, and ridiculously colored. The one thing I would say is I heard the phrase, we can't hear the next one, and the word missing is we can't wait to hear the next one. But overall, excellent grammar. Back to you, Ms. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Laura, for that great grammar evaluation. We're going to ask for all members who have not voted as yet to please do so. The polls will be closed in a few seconds. Next, I'm going to call on David Carr, who is our watcher. David?
Sure. Well, the hats added some visual interest across the board. Jim Gold, if you want to hold up your propeller beanie, that would be the award for the most on-brand hat, because the Geeks on Tour, which is their business, used the propeller beanie as a symbol. I loved some of the imagery that Pamela showed. The Wide World of Sports recording, just the retroness of it is definitely the thing that brought a smile to my face. Krishn was doing interesting things with, I'm guessing OBS Studio or a competing product. He's got a watermark showing in the corner of the screen. So I'm suggesting it might be a competing product that is commercial, but he hasn't actually paid the money yet. And so he did some interesting things. Roger Corville, who's an expert on webinars, talks about studying what they do on television, where the idea is what you see is going to change every few seconds. And Krishn was using that technique of changing it up, changing it up, changing it up to keep us engaged. The only drawback is we lost sight of his face. His face was not on screen all the time. And I did notice that when you used, I guess it's a wipe effect to change from your face to the image, it kind of broke up. I think that's an interaction between whatever software you're using and Zoom. We sometimes see that with animations in PowerPoint too. So just something to be aware of. Roxanne, I loved that she did the standing speech, very, very powerful. And also, if the weatherman ever quits in your local TV station, you did that expertly by pointing to the things behind you. And I was thinking afterwards how difficult that must have been. Maybe you had a remote in your hand that you're using to change it, or either that or you had it timed so you knew that it was going to change to that particular map at that point in your speech. However you did it expertly, and I'm very impressed. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much. We're going to call next on Jeanette Francois, who is our chat monitor. Jeanette?
Yes, thank you, Madam General Evaluator. The moment has come for me to give you the report of what was the comments that were on the chat. So to start off with, one of the comments where we don't all use our heads, but we have them. And another comment is, we make a living with what we get, but we make a life with what we give. And for Roxanne, for a wonderful speech. Krishn also commented that there's also breadfruit in the Mauritius Islands. And the answer to that from Donna to Roxanne for breadfruit, apparently it's better to roast the breadfruit when it's ripe, and when it's not ripe, it's better to fry them. So those were the comments I noticed on the chat. So they were great and useful comments. If we want to know how to bake the breadfruit, we'll get the answers from our experts here. So back to you, Mrs. General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. Coming from the Caribbean, we love breadfruit, but breadfruit is always best the day after, fried in butter. Just a little tip. We're going to call on our vote counter, Ms. Donna Knight, to ask the Zoom master for the results.
I yield to Krishn, who will reveal the votes to you.
It's in the chat, sent to you.
You're muted,
You're
Donna.
muted, Donna.
I will blame that on age. Thank you, best speaker. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. It's Roxanne Hosein. Best table topic speaker. It was tied, Hector Cabrera. And the best evaluator, ladies and gentlemen, we continue to learn from Graham Cairns. Congratulations all. General evaluator, return control 2.
Thank you so much, Donna. What an awesome meeting. From the hats to the belly full of stuff, swimming in the ocean to leadership. Our meeting was exciting today. We did start on time. A couple of suggestions to the speakers. If you're going to be using a PowerPoint, ask for verbal timing, because PowerPoint, as I think Graham had mentioned, sometimes hide the timers. So asking for a verbal time will help you keep on track. Just a suggestion. Everyone did their part tremendously. I ask that you forgive me for not having my agenda up, but I got it together. So hats off to all of us. I'll turn the meeting now over to our president, who was great in making sure that all of our votes got in and our members feel appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, back to you.
I wasn't sure if you were returning it to me or to our president. I'll take in for a moment. As our general evaluator indicated, this was an awesome meeting, and quite frankly, it would not have been awesome had it not been for the incredible members who stepped forward tonight, volunteered for the different roles, and did one heck of a job. This was a terrific meeting. My hat's off to everybody here. Thank you very much. It was a fun, and I'm looking forward to my next time as Toastmaster. With that, I return control to our beloved president, Nick Lacani.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day, Jim Barber. Thank you, Elizan, General Evaluator, and all the speakers and all the role players today. I have some announcements, and then I'm going to talk to a couple of guests. Therefore, announcements. Next Saturday, Speakathon, April the 24th at 12 noon Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So sign up. There is still a couple of roles, speaker roles available. Sign up. We're going to do something fun that day, and we're going to have a good time. Next Monday night is the webinar contest. There's only one contestant slot free. Contest chair is Elizan, and the chief judge is David Carr. That's going to be one hell of a contest, and the winner goes on to the VTM conference on the 26th and 27th of June. And finally, on the 3rd of May, we have a business meeting where we're going to get votes of this, that, and the other sorted, and then we'll have some fun things to do as well on that day. I just want to say hello to a couple of guests before closing the meeting. Let's say hello to Cheryl. What's your one takeaway from today's meeting?
Hard to choose, but I really love the energy. Everyone is really present on the meeting. Love it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. I'm going to talk to guests as soon as we close the meeting, so please do hang around. But I'm going to officially close the meeting on time, so it's 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for coming. Let's do it again on the Saturday for the Speakathon and next Monday night's meeting. Thank you all for coming, and stick around for the after party. Please switch off the recording. Well done, everybody.